government's idea to go for growth actually that bad, or has it just been sold badly?
It's been sold badly. I mean, growth, we need growth, right? It creates jobs, it creates prosperity, it creates wealth. And crucially, it allows the government to repay the debts that it's built up during the financial crisis and COVID. So absolutely, we need growth. What's missing, you nailed it a minute ago, I think, in your conversation with Liam. What's missing is just the kind of detail about how we get from the announcement on Friday to that growth. There are some good ideas there on the supply side reform that over time will do precisely what we need, which is to build more houses, have more businesses, create more jobs. But it's the detail which is missing, and it's that detail which has spooked markets.
Yeah, indeed. Can I just ask you about something from your perspective? Now that we've seen the financial situation that we're in, yes, of course, the war between Russia and Ukraine has had a massive impact on finances. But do you think, knowing what we know now, there would still be a push for things like lockdown, for example? Because lockdown did have a massive impact. How much has lockdown got to do with the situation that we're in today? Because a lot of it's getting drowned out by noise about Ukraine and Russia.
Yeah, well, shutting your country down, shutting your economy down, and then borrowing an enormous amount of money to pay people for not working, of course, is going to have an impact, isn't it? And we are living with the effect of the costs of lockdown. There's no doubt about that. That's part of the inheritance here. So the starting place for the new government is not a good one. The debt to GDP ratio is very high. People were already worried about that. We've introduced more uncertainty, but there's no doubt about it that the impact of COVID lockdowns is with us today. And, therefore, the room for manoeuvre for government is less than it would have been had we not had those lockdowns and had we not had the furlough scheme. I'm
keen to get your view on, because we are in crisis. You were there almost like a nurse for the Irish there to kind of guide them through a financial crisis. One of the options for people at the minute is to get rid of this government and, let's be honest, elect Labour, right? It's the only real proper alternative that we're going to get. We're not suddenly going to go mad for the Greens, are we? And yesterday, Keir Starmer laid out some, as far as I could tell, quite expensive, uncosted measures. Just explain to me, who's basically a pleb, why on earth the markets would rather have that than what the Tories have just announced?
I don't think anyone is saying that they would prefer that. I think what they're saying is we just want to know where you get this extra money that you want to borrow, how you're going to pay it back. I mean, that's a very basic question that they've got. That was the question that stalked Greece, Ireland, Portugal. And if you go around the world, emerging markets, it's the big question that people have who've lent money to governments there is, how am I going to get paid back as an investor? And this government can easily answer that question. It could do it very quickly. And this turbulence that we're experiencing could be put to bed. And it's a simple matter. You said it earlier, I think, of just coming out, fronting into it and saying, look, we recognise there's been some turbulence off the back of last week's announcement. This is the plan. And I think important in all of that is what the Office for Budget Responsibility would say, because it is the guardian of public finances. People look at that. And indeed, the Bank of England, what it would say about how it sees the position. So this is not a crisis. It could become a crisis.
Okay, okay, talk to me. Right, this is good. So this is not a crisis.
No, because you're in a crisis when you no longer have any options. We have options, yeah? The government has got many tools at its disposal. We saw the Bank of England intervention today, and that's pretty modest. The bank can do a lot of things, yes, as we learned during the global financial crisis and the pandemic. The government can go out and say things and do things that will calm nerves. And it's also not a crisis for a much more fundamental reason, which we shouldn't forget, is the UK economy is a big economy. It's a strong economy. It's home to some fantastic, globally competitive companies. We have entrepreneurial businesses, good businesses in this country, and a track record of delivering growth. So we need to take a very long-term view on this. We need to be calm.
Wow.
We need to get out of current turbulence, but panicking will definitely drive us into a crisis.